Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me in this live section. Guys, if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, like and share this video. Guys, I have a lot of things to share with you guys in this live session. So stay with me and get the full details. So guys, there are many of you guys who don't know that Kanu's parents and family actually, sacrificed a lot. In fact, they contributed to the fact that Kanu won in different courts in Nigeria and abroad. So now they contributed to it, which many don't know. In this live session, I'm going to be telling you in details what these parents did, how they suffered, but later they paid the big price. Yes, you guys know they lost their life in the process. After the Python dance, in Buhari's tenure, they lost their life, they paid the price. After, sacrificing for Mazen Kanu's victory in some courts in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. But later they paid the price, they paid the big price. Now, when you hear that name, Mazen Kanu, when it's mentioned, the word is the man in the dock, the leader in the struggle, the voice on Radio Biafra. But behind the global headlines, behind the court battles, behind the diplomatic campaigns, lies another story. One rarely told. Now, it is rarely told. Now, a story of his family, how, the family fought, a story of a family that has paid the price in blood, guys. You guys know what happened in 2017? Yeah, when Kanu was, granted bail, and then he came back to his hometown in Abia State to meet his family, and then, celebrate with his family members as someone that has been freed from, detention. What happened? The Python dance, movement. The rad, the soldiers came to his house, and they started. They in fact, they caused havoc in his compound. Kanu escaped. He narrowly escaped. The parents, they got injured. Another family, in fact, 28 persons died in that rad in his house. Then his parents, after 2 years of that Python dance, after 2 years, guys, the parents died. Now I'll tell you the sacrifices that Kanu's parents made. Ejimako has come out to also share his own experience, which I'll still be playing for you guys in this live section. So stay with me. I have a lot in this live section. So now, like I said, when you hear the name Nnamdi Kanu, the world sees the man, the leader of the struggle, the voice of the Radio Biafra, and but behind all this, behind the courts, behind the battle, is a story of his family that paid the price in blood, in dignity, and in peace. A family that has fought from the front lines, not with guns, but with the endurance, legal grifts, and relentless advocacy. This is the story of Mazen and the Kanu's family, the silent generals of the Biafran struggle, guys. Like I said, these people they fought from the front line. They were there. There are some sacrifice they made. That was what contributed to Kanu's victory. Yes, in different courts in Nigeria and so many other. Mazen and the Kanu's detention and his extraordinary redemption and political persecution has dominated the news cycle for years. But what most people do not see is the toll of this fight that has taken on his immediate family. From the day of Operation Python Dance was unleashed on their hometown in September 2017, the Kano family became marked targets. The military siege didn't just aim to silence Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. It tore through the lives of his parents, his siblings, and the community that surrounded them. His late father, HROM Eze Israel Okukanu, and his mother, Ugweze Sally, would never, may their soul rest in peace. They would never recover from that trauma, both dying in the shadow of that invasion. Now, let me tell you what happened. In case you don't know what happened in the Python dance. Like I said before, Kanu was released. I will still share the video of where the lawyers talked about, what happened in that place. That attack left, the parents with so many trauma. They can't even recover from that thing. That was what led to their death. Yes, in 2019. That was what led to the death of Kanu's parents. I don't even think Kanu was present in that burial. I don't even know if he was present. Now, there was this attack that happened, during Buhari's tenure, the Python dance. That was one of the atrocities that, Buhari did that we can never forget. The Python dance. When Kanu was released in 2017, when he was granted bail. So he went to his hometown in Abia State, and then the name of his hometown is Afarachuku. That was his home. in Abia State. And then he went to celebrate with his family. His friends were also there, his different family members, they were there, and his parents were also there. He was with many people because he was, in his home. He came back to the village. And then this was how, military men were deployed to his hometown, guys. And then in that attack, they caused havoc, they caused chaos, and in that attack, 28 persons lost their life. I mean, Kanu's family members, 28 persons. See, we cannot forget that day. In fact, the trauma, even his parents got injured. Kanu sustained a lot of injury. These are the atrocities that happened under the watch of Buhari. That is why we can never forget the atrocities. And this was one of the things they mentioned that Buhari committed. This was one of the atrocities that happened under Buhari's watch, and this is why we can never forget that. Yes, see, history can never forget what Buhari did. History is watching. That is why we tell you to say today that history is watching. That is why some people, when Buhari died, some people were saying that, let his soul not rest in peace when Buhari died, because they mentioned this python dance, that this thing happened under his watch. Kanu's family members sustained injury. 28 died on the spot. Kanu sustained injury and narrowly escaped to Kenya before they came and kidnapped him there. So now this is the trauma that his family, they could not recover from. And then 2 years later, the two parents died. The family paid the ultimate price, yet their voice did not fade. Now, let me now tell you something. Behind every major legal victory in Nnamdi Kanu, you will find the fingerprint of his family's direct involvement. So now that you hear that Kanu won in Kenya, Kanu won the appeal court, Kanu won the Umahia High Court judgment, Kanu won the United Nations Human Rights Council intervention, even the Enugu High Court, the African Union advocacy. Now, behind it, in fact, his parents contributed to his victory. Yes, this is what people are not seeing. They fought for him. In fact, the murder of Nnamdi Kanu was even live in some of his court sections. Yes, in Abuja High Court. They fought, they fought well for Kanu's victory. And then for them to now bail Kanu, they had to now come and military men had to come and buy 28 in his compound. Now, behind every major legal victory in Nnamdi Kanu's case, you will find the fingerprints of his family's direct involvement. Now, number one is the victory that number one victory of Kanu is the appeal court judgment, a landmark ruling that discharged and acquitted Nnamdi Kanu of all charges, won after years of relentless legal battle. Another one was the Kenya case, where the illegal adoption and extraordinary redemption from Nairobi was exposed thanks to coordinated legal and diplomatic pressure supported directly by his family. Yes. Another thing is the Umahia High Court judgment, where the invasion of their home during the Python dance was declared unlawful, setting a precedent for accountability. And also the United Nations Human Rights Council intervention. The family ensured that the adoption and detention was raised before the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, leading to a formal condemnation of Nigeria's action. Now you're asking, where is Kanu's family? Where is Kanu's family? Their family is working. In fact, they contributed to the fact that Kanu won in these different courts in both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. The Enugu High Court, another front where the family fought to establish legal truth and historical record. The African Union advocacy, where they took the fight beyond Nigerian and Western courts, pressing the case before continental bodies. So all these victories did not just come from chance. They came from persistence, coordination, and a refusal to be intimidated. His families contributed to all these victories. Yeah, so if you're asking, is Kanu not, is it that his families are, have left him or abandoned him? They are fighting for him. And people, this live session is just to tell you, expose the untold sacrifice of Nnamdi Kanu's family, which after they paid with blood, guys. So now, every court victory has been met with fresh hostility, and every legal success has been followed by more delays, more roadblocks, and more psychological warfare. Yet the Kanu's family has borne it without collapsing. Now, Kanu is a very strong one, even after everything is passing through. And then his families, with everything, the trauma after the Python dance, that 28 family members died at the spot, guys. after everything, but Kanu's family has borne it without collapsing. They have been subjected to constant, surveillance, harassment. They don't even allow them to come to, to appear before in the court. And then the loss of properties and ancestral home security, smear campaign designed to fracture their credibility. The pain of watching Nnamdi Kanu's health deteriorates in DSS detention, while court orders for his release are ignored. See, upon all these things, still they have stood firm. Now, to understand the resilience of their family is, you must revisit the tragedy that happened in the Python dance. The 2017 military invasion of their home was not just an operation, it was coordinated, it was deliberate. It was a declaration of war on the very heart of the Biafra movement. Guys, soldiers poured into, Afaruku. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this his hometown well in Abia State. Afaruku. Bullets rained it rained. Lives were lost. It was during this dark chapter that the seed of their current unyielding stance were sown. That day stripped the family of any illusion about the nature of the Nigerian state opposition to the Biafran question. It made their fight deeply personally. Imagine with all this thing they did to Kanu's family. Nigerian government cannot even come out to apologize. How can you deploy military men to come to Kanu's village and by 28 of his family members, both his friends, his mother, his elderly parents sustained injury, bullets rained, Kanu nearly escaped, and even up to now, Nigerian government do they treat terrorists like this? This was somebody they discharged though. It's not like he's a terrorist. They've not even shown. Guys, since 2017, there is no record that Kanu is a terrorist. And they deploy military men to cause harm. This is the atrocities that was committed under Buhari's watch. Now, it is easy to reduce the Biafran struggle to political speeches and courtroom dramas, but when you zoom in, you will see the human cost. The Kanu's family story is the proof that the fight is not about headline, it's about survival, justice, and history. They have shown that leadership. See, they are not just persecuting Kanu, they dealt with the family members. They are not just persecuting family, but his families are Kanu, but his family is also suffering this thing too. His elderly parents, sustained injury on that day. The military men came to his house, and then Kanu sustained injury too, and they by 28 members. Do they do this? Do they do this to any terrorists in Nigeria? How can you come to somebody's house just like that, start raining bullets? People that stray bullets by 38 of them, Kanu's family members, both his friends. Now I'm going to play a video shortly to watch and hear what Ejimako, his legal counsel, his lawyer. I'm going to play a video of what he said. He talked about the Python dance, how everything started, how Nigerian government dealt with Nnamdi Kanu. Take a look.
So today I'm wearing two hats. I'm speaking on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu. I'm also speaking on my own behalf. My name is Aloy Ejimako. I'm the special counsel to Nnamdi Kanu and the indigenous people of Biafra. And I'm speaking to you from a location in Nigeria. The man, Nnamdi Kanu, is well known. He's everywhere. He's on Wikipedia. He's an internationally acclaimed freedom fighter. But there's just a few things I need to tell you about him. What brought him to limelight was the formation of the indigenous people of Biafra in the United Kingdom in 2012. Simultaneously, he also founded Radio Biafra. And these two organizations were aimed at one thing: liberation for the people of Biafra, or restoration of the former Republic of Biafra that went defunct in 1970. The right to self-determination is a right that is guaranteed internationally, domestically, and continentally. It's within the black letters of Nigerian law at Article 20 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The right to self-determination is guaranteed. So the formation of IPOB did not break any law. not laws of United Kingdom, not international law, not Nigerian law. But guess what? When Nnamdi Kanu, who was born in Nigeria, but who acquired British citizenship later on, came to Nigeria in October 2015, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, which had come to power in May, decided to arrest him. He was not arrested between 2012 and 2015 because the government of the day at that time understood that self-determination is not a crime. But the government that came into power in 2015 in May decided that self-determination is going to be treated as a criminal activity. So he was arrested in Lagos. He was charged for treason, also for insulting the president and illegal importation of ready equipment. 3 charges. The treason one, they split it into 2, treason by himself and treason by conspiracy. This thing went on from 2015 until April 2017, when he was eventually granted bail. So he was detained for nearly 18 months. After granting him bail, he returned to his ancestral home in the southeastern part of Nigeria, and he was enjoying his bail when suddenly, between 10 September and 14 September 2017, the Nigerian army, without any justification whatsoever, levied lethal, massive military operations against Nnamdi Kanu's ancestral home. That day, he was sitting at home with so many people, his family members, including his 2 elderly parents. The attack was lightning, it was a bleakridge, it was massive, and it was not the type of an attack you will expect a national military force to levy on a civilian location. But they did. At the end of the day, 28 people lost their lives. Nnamdi Kanu sustained injuries. His parents sustained injuries as well, but somehow, by the grace of God, they all managed to escape. From there, the rest is history. And because there was a national and international manhunt for him by the security forces, which rules of engagement was to shoot, not to maim. If you see Nnamdi Kanu, if you encounter him anywhere, shoot not to maim. Not to maim, but shoot to kill. That's what they went there to do on 10 September, but they didn't succeed. But it went on. They went on in a manhunt. So Nnamdi Kanu was forced to flee the municipal boundaries of Nigeria in search of safe haven overseas. Eventually, in May 2021, he settled in Kenya. He entered Nairobi and settled in Kenya somewhere. He never knew that Nigerian security forces, the international branch of it, were laying in wait for him. They led an ambush for him. So on 19th June 2021, he drove himself to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on a personal errand. As soon as he drove into the parking lot and alighted from his vehicle, several well-armed security men suspected to be of a mixture of Nigerian and Kenyan security forces swooped on him, grabbed him, abducted him, and put him forcibly in a vehicle and drove away. Well, they didn't take him to the police station. They didn't take him to immigration because he was a foreigner. He should have been taken to immigration. They didn't take him to any official law enforcement facility. They took him to a secret location in Nairobi, a non-official secret location. So in effect, they disappeared him. And they kept him at that secret location for a whole 8 days. And those 8 days he endured horrendous torture. All these are matters of record between the various tribunals and courts before whom this matter has been brought. I cannot begin to give you all the details. Horrendous torture in violation of basic human rights, in violation of the laws of Kenya, Nigeria, and the international community. When Nnamdi Kanu was abducted on 19th June 2021, the proper thing that should have been done is to take him to a police station, from there to a court, and then if you wanted him back in Nigeria, you subject him to what is called extradition proceedings. This is a basic tenet of the law that you see in the laws of any nation. Kenya has an extradition act to which Nnamdi Kanu should have been subjected. But guess what? They didn't do that. They rather disappeared him for 8 days, tortured him to their heart's content. And on 27th June, they secretly brought him out from this location and took him through the back doors, evading Kenyan immigration, direct to the tarmac of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Nairobi, where a private plane was waiting. They bundled him into the plane, chained him to the chair, and everything. He endured 5-6 hours flight from Nairobi to Kenya in the most excruciating circumstances. They arrived in Nigeria late in the evening, and the plane flew back to Nairobi. They took him to the headquarters of the National Intelligence Agency in Abuja, where he spent the first night with all the lights left on to assure his maximum discomfort. The following day, they transferred him to the headquarters of Directorate of State Security in Abuja. And on the third day, they brought him before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The Federal High Court was well aware that Nnamdi Kanu has counsel of record. It was an open case, it wasn't a new case, a pre-existing case. But the Federal High Court decided to conduct the arraignment in violation of his constitutional right to counsel, and that arraignment led to the indefinite detention with which we are struggling today.
So guys, you heard what the lawyer said. Now we explained everything in details, how it happened. Now the major part I want to talk about was what happened in the Python dance. How the family members paid the price. Now I want you guys to know that the family members are the ones. See, they were the funders. They were the coordinators. I mean, his victory, like they fought for Kanu very well to make sure that he was released and he was granted bail. And eventually, when they granted him bail, like the lawyer said that, Muhammad Buhari, now let me now tell you guys, according to what the lawyer said, he said in 2015 or from 2012 to 2015 or from 2011 to 2015, they never arrested Nnamdi Kanu because the current government, the current administration understood that self-determination was not a crime. They understood that self-determination was not a crime. And then let's fast forward to 2015 to from May 2015 May to 2023. That was under the leadership of President Buhari. They decided to treat self-determination as a criminal activity or a criminal act, and then they went ahead to arrest Kanu, and they later granted him bail, guys. And then he came back in 2017. They granted him bail. He came back to his hometown, his ancestral home in Abia State, which he was with his family members. They were celebrating, and he was with a lot of people. And then, guys, I don't know, the minute they deployed military personnel to his hometown, that was the Python dance that bite a lot of people, a lot of his family members, guys. Till today, nobody is coming out, to talk on that or to, condemn the government for what they did. Just his lawyers alone. These Southeast governors cannot even see what the Nigerian government did to Nnamdi Kanu and the family, how the family members paid the price, guys. His family endured they sustained injury, and then 2 years later, the parents died. So, guys, you can see how the family members are paying the price. When soldiers surrendered his hometown in 2017, they were just hunting for one man. Imagine the kind of effort they are putting on Kanu's head. They went to his hometown to hunt for him, Secondly, they went to Kenya to kidnap him just because of one man. They were dismantling a home. They were trying to crush his spirit. They were sending a message that no family who stood behind Biafra would be spared. The sound of gunfire that day didn't just echo through the compound, it echoed through the destiny of Kanu's family. Guys, why most people saw Nnamdi Kanu's legal victories as the work of a high-profile lawyers, those inside the struggle know the truth. His families were not spectators, guys. They were funders, they were coordinators, they were the one making the phone call in the dead of the night to push documents through hostile courts, through the courts, and rally witnesses to brief international bodies, guys. So Kanu's family actually, made some sacrifices that you guys don't know. You guys will feel that it's only his lawyers, but Kanu's family were part of people that pushed for Kanu's release and bail. It was, even some of his victories in appeal courts, in high court, Enugu high court here, his families were among, they contributed to his victory. It was his family who stood by, case after case when the Nigerian government deployed every delay tactics possible. And when the appeal court discharged and acquitted him, it was the family, you know, the pressure that kept the legal fire alive despite threats and intimidation, guys. So now they pushed the Nairo Obi case with, they pushed the Nairo Obi case. I mean, the way they adopted him, exposing the fact that he was adopted on the foreign soil, blindfolded and flown to Nigeria in the act that violated every international treaty Nigeria had signed. Without that case, the extraordinary redemption might have remained hidden from the world, guys. They returned they returned to the very soil where their parents' health had been broken and won a court declaration that the invasion was illegal, that victory was not just legal, it was moral. It told the world, yes, we remembered what you did and we hold you to account. Now, let me now tell you something. When Nigeria ignored local judgment, the family went international, filing petition. The working group on arbitrary detention condemned his detention as unlawful. They took the matter before the African Union, expanding the fight to into the continental stage. And in Enugu, they fought to ensure that no local court would ever again pretend ignorance of the injustice committed against Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. So somebody said something which I want us to look at. He said, "Thank you for bringing this up. Um, to our remembrance. I have not seen a man like Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. God's mighty hand is upon him." Yes, honestly, I've not seen a man like Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. I pray, he already, he has been vindicated already. Already is innocent, and I pray that one day, someday, we shall all rejoice, for his release. Now, I'll still continue that video where the lawyer still said a lot of things. But before that, let me now tell you guys that, to understand the Biafra movement, you cannot only look at Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. You must look at the people who shielded him when the bullets came, who stayed awake when the lawyers rested, who imagine that time when he had Ifeanyi Ejiofor and Jordan Mike, how they sold his case to the federal government. Now, like I said, to understand this Biafra movement, you cannot just look at Mazen and Kanu alone. You must look at the people who shielded him when the bullets came, who stayed awake when the lawyers rested, who bore the results, who the losses, the loneliness. This is not just political, this is generational. This is the cost of daring to demand freedom. So all I'm saying is that Kanu's family, his parents were at the front line fighting for him, but you guys might not see it. Even right now, his brother, they are fighting for him, but you guys might not see what they're doing. That Kanu won in different courts, his family's contributed. They were awake in the night, granting, writing petitions and a lot of things just for Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Now, continue listening to what the lawyer said. Guys, listen, this man said a lot of things. I want you guys to take notes. Take a look.
Anyways, taking you back a few steps, the little military invasion of 2017 was not unrequited, judicially speaking. I took the matter before two tribunals, or a tribunal and a court. First, I took it to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which rendered a decision in March 2018 condemning the action and calling it a violation of the African Charter. And they wrote to the President of Nigeria, they wrote a letter to the President of Nigeria requesting him or directing him. They used diplomatic language, but the decision was there that what you did is wrong. So you need to roll it back. You need to reverse everything you have done, which includes declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization and hounding their members as criminals. The African Commission held that what Nigerian government was doing was persecution, not prosecution. That the IPOB and its members simply possess an inconvenient political opinion which the Nigerian government was seeking to suppress by means of punishment of some sort. And they asked or directed Nigerian government to reverse itself. Nigerian government never did. Rather, it escalated. Well, subsequently, I went to a local court, a high court in Abia State in eastern Nigeria. I sued the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Nigerian Army, and other parties who were confederates in that attack of September 2017. And in January 2022, fortunately for us, we won. The High Court made an order. The High Court reached a judgment that what happened to Nnamdi Kanu in September 2017 was a flagrant violation of his constitutional right to life and constitutional right to his privacy. And the court proceeded to make an order ordering the federal government of Nigeria or Federal Republic of Nigeria to pay him a compensation of 1 billion Nigerian naira, which is over $1 million US dollars. The court also ordered the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the President of Nigeria to issue a public apology to be published in 3 national Nigerian newspapers to Nnamdi Kanu. None of this has happened. So we kept that aside. So when they brought Nnamdi Kanu forcibly from Kenya without extradition proceedings, I characterized it an act of extraordinary rendition. Initially, there was a misunderstanding, a broad, widespread misunderstanding by vast majorities of Nigerians who were mouthing the cliche, Nnamdi Kanu extradited from Kenya. No, that was wrong. He wasn't. I told people he wasn't. He was extraordinarily renditioned or rendered, and that is against international law, Kenyan law, and laws of the Federation of Nigeria. So while his criminal trial was making its way slowly at Abuja, with all the several amendments the government was bringing, they walked away from treasonable felony, insulting the president, importation of radio equipment, and bam, to terrorism. That's how it happened. And they did this 7 times. 7 amendments. If Nnamdi Kanu was guilty, why is it taking so long to bring him to trial between 2015 and today? That is 8 years. So what he's undergoing is not really a judicial trial. It's a trial by ordeal. Trial by fire. Imprisonment before conviction. They just want to get as many years of jail time out of him as possible, because they know that with the evidence available, conviction will be impossible. And that was made worse by the extraordinary rendition, which I took also as a civil violation to a federal high court in Nigeria. And in October 2022, the Federal High Court came down with a judgment that extraordinary rendition was a violation of his constitutional rights, his fundamental rights, and they awarded him 500 million Nigerian naira. That's about $800,000. So all around, everywhere that this matter has gone to, including in July 2022, before the Human Rights Council at the United Nations. The Human Rights Council, United Nations, came down with an opinion that what happened to Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya and that brought him to Nigeria is a very grave violation of international law, and they directed that he should be released unconditionally. And of course, the Court of Appeal in Nigeria did come down with a similar judgment in same October 2022, discharging Nnamdi Kanu of all charges and bearing any further trial of his person in any court in Nigeria as a consequence, as a direct consequence of the extraordinary rendition. So what more can you ask for a man to deserve his freedom? How many have I counted? United Nations, which in this case should be considered a world court. Then you have the Nigerian Court of Appeal, which is the second highest court in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then you have the Federal High Court, which is the court of first instance at the federal level. And of course, you have the State High Court that awarded him 1 billion Nigerian naira. So between 2015 and today, 8 years and running, Nnamdi Kanu has snagged 4 major victories against the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with Federal Republic of Nigeria winning nothing. What more do you need as stark evidence, affirmative evidence that what is happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is an act of persecution, not prosecution? It's time to end it. On his behalf, I will ask all men and women of goodwill everywhere in the world to speak up. There was this saying about Jews. When they came for the Jew, you said nothing. When they came for the Jew, you said nothing because you're a trade unionist. Then when they came for the trade unionist, you say, well, I'm a scientist. You said nothing. They took the Jew, they took the trade unionist, and then when they came for the scientists, nobody spoke for you. Nnamdi Kanu is a poster boy for all the injustices that a great race, the Igbo people, and their cousins in the former eastern Nigeria have been subjected to since the founding of Nigeria. These injustices became more public because since 2015 they have been escalated. So how do you fight back? You fight back by telling the system, I want out. I want my own country is not a crime. It does not require a bullet. It doesn't require muscular military law enforcement. What it requires is sitting across the table and talking about it. A lot of nations have been founded on referendum. That's what Nnamdi Kanu and the John Spirit of Biafra were asking for. That led to all this conundrum, to all this saga.
So, guys, that was actually a nice one. That was actually a good one from Aloy Ejimako. Just like he said Kanu's case doesn't need, it doesn't need bullets or gun. What he did not commit any crime. He only demanded for self-determination, which is his legal rights as a citizen. He did not commit crime. There is no need for all these bullets and all this, chaos, havoc, and all this trial. They need to sit down with Kanu and ask him what made you to start demanding for self-determination. Nigerian government actually, negotiate with bandits, they talk with bandits. Is it now Kanu they will not talk with? You see, this Kanu's case, the case of Nnamdi Kanu is more than a legal matter. Because it's a moral test for Nigeria and a clear example of how political power can twist the law to serve its own interests. Because it is clear now that they are not even following the law again. They are not following the law. They are defying the law. It began with an adoption. Okay, before the adoption, it began with a python dance that, because of one man, 28 family members of Kanu died. Because of, this military oppression that happened in his home, 28 family members died. Is that how they treat terrorists in Nigeria today? It started with adoption. From adoption, you know, the court orders they cannot even obey, and it stands today as a symbol of injustice on an international scale. On July 19th, 2021, Nnamdi Kanu entered Kenya legally, carrying a British passport, which is family. He entered Kenya legally carrying a British passport, but instead of due process, he was seized by security agents. He was tortured and was forced, and then he was then flown to Nigeria in an act known as extraordinary redemption, a clear violation of Kenyan law, Nigerian law, and multiple international treaties which Nigeria signed. The Nigerian government has never provided a credible explanation why they did that, because the truth is simple. They broke their own law to get him. They cannot just we are expecting them to come out and give reasons why they actually adopted Kanu. Why are they after a man's life? Why are they so interested in Kanu? To the extent that they went to his house in search of him to hunt him down. In the process, his family members died and some sustained injury. And then they went to Kenya as well to kidnap him. Now, since his detention, Nigerian court has repeatedly ruled in his favor. A lot. The October 13th, 2022, the Court of Appeal discharged and acquitted him of all charges. Umuahia High Court declared the 2017 military invasion of his home illegal and awarded damages, guys. You're asking yourself, why is Kanu in detention after all these things? Kenyan court also recognized that his adoption violated Kenya's sovereignty. And also, UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention declared his detention unlawful. They declared his detention unlawful and called for immediate release. Yet, despite all these things, Nnamdi Kanu remains in DSS custody. The message is loud and clear. In Nigeria, even the law is a hostage. Now, in detention, his health has deteriorated sharply. Court-approved medical care has been blocked. Family visits are often restricted. Every day he spends in custody is not just a violation of his rights. It is a calculated act of psychological and physical harm. The same Nigerian government that lectures citizens on rule of law ignores it when it suits their politics. The same officials who demand justice abroad are the ones defying it at home. And why the courts speak, the DSS act as if they are above both the judiciary and the constitution. Even if you're not an Igbo person, even if you're not Igbo, even if you do not support Biafra, the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case sets a dangerous precedent. If a government can adopt a man from a foreign country, ignore court orders, and keep him in detention without consequences, there's no one's right that is safe. No one's right is safe. That is just it. It's not even about you being an Igbo man. No one's right is safe. Nnamdi Kanu's case is no longer just about one man. It is about whether Nigeria is a nation of laws or a nation of rulers. And it's about, if like I said, if Nigeria is a nation of laws or of nation of rulers. And history will remember where each of us stood when justice was put on trial. History will remember that. History will remember that. So you can see all the things they have done against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This man suffered under under Buhari's government, and we're expecting Tinubu to actually release this man. We're expecting Tinubu. Now, currently, Dave Umahi said we should not pressure Tinubu to release him because he was not the one that put him there. But Tinubu's administration inherited an illegal detention of a man. Now, to understand today's injustice, we must remember the September 14th, the 2017, the day the Nigerian military launched Operation Python Dance 2 on Nnamdi Kanu's home in Abia State. Soldiers stormed the compound without a court order, which is very illegal. Live ammunition was fired at unarmed civilians. Dozens were, they by dozens of people and wounded many. Kanu barely escaped with his life, guys. His parents suffered trauma that later took their lives. Instead of facing justice for this operation, the military doubled down and the state framed Kanu as the aggressor, guys. Instead of them to double down, instead of facing justice for this operation, the military doubled down. How the military men came to his house. Instead, the state framed Kanu as an aggressor, or as the aggressor. The injustice against Nnamdi Kanu is not just about ignoring judgments. It's about how the state uses the court system to buy time. Endless adjournments, just like what we are seeing today. Filing new charges each time old ones collapse. Ignoring bail rulings by simply refusing to release him. The Nigerian government has turned justice into a game of delay, and they have turned this into a game of delay. In 2022, the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention issued a detailed decision. His adoption was unlawful. His detention was also unlawful. He must be released and then compensated. But Nigerian government ignored it, sending a message to the international community that their ruling mean nothing if they don't serve state interests. Now, what we are saying is that they should release Kanu, because since he has been in detention, there's no crime I can tell even up to now that Kanu have done. Like now, news coming in now that Tinubu is saying that Nnamdi Kanu should repent so that he can now pardon him, just like he pardons criminal or terrorist. And I'm asking myself, why will you even tell Tinubu Nnamdi Kanu to repent? Why would Tinubu tell Nnamdi Kanu to repent? What has he done? What is his crime? What is his crime? I want to know. If you call someone a terrorist, you have to come out and prove he's a terrorist. Which one is that? This is the news reaching to us right now that, Tinubu is telling Nnamdi Kanu to repent so that he can pardon him. Repent how? What is his crime? Why will you even tell him to repent? You guys negotiate with bandits, but you guys have kept Kanu. They work freely. They don't even sense. They are not even kept in cell or detention for even a second. You guys rehabilitate them, give them house and money. People that are buying people on alive, spilling blood in the country. But look at Nnamdi Kanu still held in solitary confinement. Take a look at what the lawyer said. Maswell. Take a look at what he said.
When the president calmed down, the reason Nnamdi Kanu have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the constitution and the law.
Well, the government's angle is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate, but they said the way he was going about it, like and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
What of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one Oba of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe. So you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, you kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, they wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, check since 1999, we have been having series of president. Just okay, let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate president is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal president is from where? National Industrial Court president is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
The chief of
Are you sure Max, are you sure you're not? I mean, it's just like what I said too. I mean, isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold all this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that there's
But the chief of naval staff is from the Southeast?
Huh?
The chief of naval staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position. Number 1 person, number 2 person, number 3 person, number 4 person, number 5 person. The key position, we have 3 arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular government is in line with Federal Character Establishment Act, an act of National Assembly that said that you should carry everybody along. Section 14 of the Constitution also said that you should carry everybody along. And they are not doing all these things. You are telling me that, yes, now that you have removed Kennedy Hanele and they are now brought in Janko Juku, that the people of Southeast will jubilate. Are you talking to idiots? Look at the people that you are talking about. Check, let me start with the sports. In football, the people that have made Nigeria proud are the people of Southeast. In commerce, in aviation industry, name it. In academics, they are from people of Southeast. But when it comes to power, they are not qualified. And we want them to be happy. Listen, let me tell you, like today that is Monday, go to Southeast. And my annoyance is that these things are avoidable for Christ's sake. The one at Niger, the reason and the Kanu, let us start addressing this issue. This early morning, somebody sent me a clip, something they posted, that they said from, I think they said next week, the next 2 weeks, that there will be nothing like federal courts in the whole of Southeast. What do I mean by federal courts? Federal courts, National Industrial Court is a federal court. Federal High Court is a federal court. Court of Appeal is a federal court. Now, the judges that are there, most of them are not Igbos. Majority of them are not Igbos. How should you risk somebody to go and preside in the Court of Appeal over the judicial division, Oka Judicial Division, Enugu Judicial Division? How can you appoint somebody to go and preside in Federal High Court in the Southeast, National Industrial Court in the Southeast? And you are not even thinking about all this, and the judges are not even thinking about So the point we are talking about is that when there is a problem, look for a solution. Personally, somebody like us, we are not even, I'm defending Nnamdi Kanu, one of his lawyers. So when they say so you people are not doing what you're supposed to do, the person that is calling you, don't even know him. He's using a hidden number to call you. You don't even know what you're talking about. Court. The only thing that is that you went to court and you were unable to bring Nnamdi Kanu out. You're not even safe.
Now, guys, the point I actually want to get out from this video is that, according to what his lawyer said, Marshall, he said, Nigerian government, we have seen many headlines of where they negotiate with bandits. So what is the problem? You guys cannot even ask what made Kanu to start agitating at first. Something happened. He did not just wake up one morning to start agitating. The Igbos have been persecuted. The Igbos have been killed even in the north. So even with all the warnings and everything, still the killings were, they were still killing them. So then they said, okay, since you want to treat them as slaves in Nigeria, why can't we not have our own nation? They decided to have their own separate nation, and it's not even a crime. Is his right. He has not committed any crime by demanding for referendum for self-determination. Yes, Nigerian government ignored all the rulings, all the courts, even DSS ignored everything. Sending a message to even the international community itself, they ignored all the ruling. In 2022, the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention issued a detailed decision saying that his adoption was unlawful. Even his detention was also actually unlawful. His trial was unlawful because the way they brought him from, Kenya to Nigeria was actually unlawful. So therefore, his trial is invalid and unlawful. And then they said he must be released and compensated. But Nigeria government ignored it, sending a message to international community that their ruling mean nothing if they don't serve state interest. Now, Kanu is a British citizen. I continue to say it. As a British citizen, Nnamdi Kanu should have been protected by the UK government. Instead, the Britain has offered only mild diplomatic statements, while one of its own nationals is detained illegally. This silence is, is neutrality. It is, is complicity, because they are supposed to act as a, as one of their own that is being detained illegally. The DSS department has been doing all manner of things, blocking lawyers from meeting him, which is actually a crime, seizing his personal legal documents, monitoring private conversation with his defense team, denying court-ordered medical treatment. They are not the actions of a, these are not the actions of a security agency. They are the actions of a political enforcer. If the Nigerian government gets away with extraordinary redemption, defying court orders and violating international rulings in this case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, it sets a precedent for future abuses. Any disaster can be adopted abroad. Countries' victories will mean nothing. Human rights will depend entirely on political mood. This is why his case matters far beyond IPOB or Biafra. It's not about the survival of the rule of law in Nigeria. Every day Kanu remains in DSS detention despite court victories. Nigeria loses more credibility before its own people and the world. Justice delayed in this case is not just justice denied, it is justice destroyed. When justice is destroyed for one man, it is destroyed for everyone. It is destroyed for everyone. Like I always say, Nigerian government doesn't know the consequences of keeping Kanu in detention. If they know the future consequences of what they will get in keeping Kanu in detention, they will not keep him there for a second. They won't keep him there for a second. They will not just keep him there for a second. You're asking yourself, where are these Igbo political elites? Where are Southeast governors? Why are they silent? Why have they not boldly, talked about Kanu's release? Now, if you're wondering just like me, take a look at what this soldier said.
But if you people are killing, you are ranting in the east without taking a proper step, Nnamdi Kanu will not be released. I am not praying that he should be there. Because the governors and the House of Senate rep in the east, they are behind his detention. Because why? If Nnamdi Kanu come outside, those people call themselves governor House of Rep, they will not have the opportunity in any position in Biafra land. They might be chased out of Biafra. That is why they are making sure Nnamdi Kanu should not be released. This is my advice. I come in peace. I mean no harm. Detaining Nnamdi Kanu, they pay me for body because why? Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist leader. He's a freedom fighter. Why are you people detaining a freedom fighter and leave the leaders of Boko Haram and Fulani herdsmen? Why should you people leave the leaders of Boko Haram, ISWAP, banditry, and you people know them? They give you the list. And now, una come to face Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu, is he up to the terrorist leader in the north? If not another person, they arrest for this kind of treason when they say treason. Are you aware the person not go reach this kind of time for prison detention? Nnamdi Kanu is an innocent person. They just hate him because why? They still say he's wise. If the country divide, peace go there, everybody go in. It go affect them. They don't say if the country divide, those who are ruling now, the governor ruling in the east now, they are not going to get it right. That is why they are doing amebo to the president that they should not release what? Nnamdi Kanu. Because why? They are not going to benefit in the movement of Biafra country. That is why they are doing so. If you say you don't hear from me, I don't tell you now wait till they stop now. Make una do the right thing. Mobilize to Abuja, DSS for a massive protest on that court
So if you're wondering why Igbo people are actually silent, I mean politicians, that video is for you. You heard what the man said, that Igbo people are saboteurs. Like, I mean the governors, they are saboteurs. Now, somebody said something. Now, I told you guys that there was this information reaching to me that Tinubu is actually telling Mazen Kanu to repent. And I'm asking myself, repent for what? Like, has he committed any crime? What about all these politicians that loot money, you know, that have been dragged to EFCC because they stole money? No crime, no consequences for them. But look at the man that didn't do anything. Now, this person said something. This person said, repent for what? Useless people, thieves that rule the country, Nigeria. Yeah. I wonder why Tinubu will be telling Mazen Kanu to repent so that he can pardon him. Is he a terrorist? Is he a terrorist? The Nigerian presidency, you know, they're just sustaining his illegal detention. Nigerian presidency, they are to be blamed for authorizing and then sustaining his illegal detention. Tinubu should be blamed as well, because some people will be saying that Tinubu was not the one that arrested him, that it was Buhari and he's dead, this, that. But, Tinubu's administration inherited, I keep on saying this thing, an illegal detention of a man. And when Kenya High Court came out to rule in Kanu's favor, that was the time Tinubu was supposed to release him, but nothing has been done. Tinubu have not even talked about Kanu. I've not heard Mazen Kanu in his mouth. What about the Attorney General of the Federation? He should be blamed for using the law as a weapon instead of a shield. The DSS should be blamed as well for operating outside constitutional boundaries and treating court orders as optional. They ignored court orders when the appeal court actually released, or they said they should release Kanu. They ignored it. The British government should be blamed as well, because Kanu is a British citizen, and then they should be blamed for abandoning its duty to protect one of its citizens, which is Mazen Kanu. The judiciary should be blamed as well for failing to enforce its own ruling with consequences. Each of these institutions has a chance to uphold justice. Each of them choose politics over principle. That is just it. So, guys, you can see Tinubu is telling Mazen Kanu to repent so that he can pardon him just like he pardoned criminal. And I'm asking myself, what is the crime of Kanu? You guys have done DSS witness. None of them can actually prove that Kanu is a terrorist. So why are you still keeping him there? Why are you keeping him there? So I've come to the end of this live session. Do also hit that subscribe button. If you're new, guys, please hit that subscribe button so that you cannot miss out. You will not miss out on any breaking news concerning Mazen Kanu or anything going on in Nigeria. You actually get the full gist here. So hit that subscribe button to be updated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.